Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horror Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight for this special occasion is my co-host Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am.
Man, I tell you, it has been rather rough these past few weeks trying to get everything situated and moved around. But hey, look where we're at. We're at a new stream. We're live streaming, and we have all the time in the world now. And we had we got one review in during December for our Christmas Horrors Marathon, and that I think it was once upon. It's a Wonderful Knife, and the site we were using decided, you know what? It's not going to be a Christmas miracle. We're not going to process your show. It's just going to be lost in the ether, and that's what happened. And that was the straw that broke us. Where we said we were going to take some time off uh, through November, but we decided, whatever, we'll figure it out. And once that happened, that just like that put us into high gear. And here we are. We're on YouTube now, and I think we have entered a new chapter in the show, and I'm looking forward to what awaits us. And as always with these shows, we usually try to do something special, and of course we got a Boneyard coming up later. But Ian, what's your thoughts about this, man? I think it was about time. I mean, it's been a long
Oh
time
man.
coming in general.
Well, I think with the new platform, we actually have more of a chance to be pushed out there. And back when we first started, there was really it was a lot harder to do this kind of stuff because there wasn't a way to really share like we have now. Like there's multiple platforms we can do now, and I guess once they realized, hey, podcasts are the next big up and coming thing, and it's just like everything has, come together and really hey, you need to, get your show together because we've had so many years under our belt that now, it's time for us to move on and I'm really glad to see where we, take this. The platform we're using now is a little bit more user friendly. Now we actually have t-shirts that we can kind of sell. Uh,
Yeah, I
and
mean it's been a long time to get to where we're wanting to
oh yeah,
go. A lot of setbacks here and there, um, but we needed this to happen. It just took us a while to get there.
yeah,
Again, a lot of things get in the way, life in general, and again, like I'm sure the audio on my end, I mean, it might come out good, but I was in the process of getting a microphone so pick up my voice better. But again, life gets in the way, and you have to spend $1,200 on a new fridge. So,
yeah,
which one would you rather have, a $30 microphone or a new fridge? I mean, of course you want you have to have the fridge. So that was an that was another expenditure out there, but you do what you do, and that's another thing we were getting ready to do was like the microphone, headsets, everything, and then just like again, life gets in the way, and like you know what, no, not gonna happen. But this is definitely gonna, once I get the mic and everything else, this show's gonna go a little bit farther, reach more people, and again, we have a chat room now, so we can interact with our audience, and it's gonna be interesting. You know, get automatic feedback and interest in these random ass shows that we do. So
yeah. And that, and you know we might have a 4 hour restraint, but you know I doubt you and I are going to have ever do a show that long. Maybe one day, but
well, I've done them before. I mean, I did a 3 hour howling marathon back in the old days of when I was doing the radio shows over there on the other site. But again, that's years ago. Before
yeah,
everything changed where you can only have 30 minutes, and good luck even getting 30 minutes. Um,
yeah, you
but
know, yeah,
I, there's no reason to hark. We went on a little bit longer than necessary here, but again, we kind of have time now. We're not restrained, so it's kind of just like relaxing to get the mood set and talk. Because again, we're always
Yeah.
right now we be getting into the review
Rushing.
portion of stuff, and so it's always plus it's been a while since we've talked. So, well, again, show wise, but it's it's always good to just like kind of relax now. We don't have to rush and hurry into things and move to the next topic. Now again, we're gonna do more than that and bring more to the table, and more interesting things hopefully, as the year progresses. So again, as I mentioned, it's I'm looking forward to what is to come.
Yeah. And, I think it's funny that everything started going wrong last year because that was our 10-year mark.
Yeah.
So, and they're like, no, it's been a decade. Go somewhere else. Kind of forced us. And, but yeah, I'm glad that we're here, and like, I still feel like, like I keep telling myself, like, when I would talk about things and I would go on a little bit and I'm like, you got to hurry this along because we only have so long to do. And now I'm like, oh, well, we got kind of like 4 hours now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right.
We have a logo. We got everything, man. We got a
Yeah.
lot new stuff. Again, like as I mentioned, we've been working behind the scenes, so it's great to actually do a show and show all the work that we've done. It's again still a little work in progress here, and we have to get all the bugs worked out. But once we do, I mean, it's gonna be definitely a proper show. And Ian, before we move on to our main event, and what a hell of a main event it'll be for our Boneyard review. As mentioned, already people already know what it is, but you managed to sneak out tonight and get a chance to see Lisa Frankenstein. And I figured, hey, it's been a while since we've done an actual new release. And Ian, of course, is the only one that's seen it so far, so I can't give my 2 cents on it. But Ian, the floor is yours. Talk about Lisa Frankenstein.
This movie, like, okay. I'm just going to set, like, they do, like, these little shadow animations every once in a while that, like, allude to sex and other things. And it just comes out of nowhere. And I just, like, they did, like, obviously, there's a lot of Frankenstein references and stuff. There's, like, a lot of, like, callbacks to, like, Tim Burton films, silent films, everything. It was just like, it was just, I didn't know what was going to happen next. Like, the plot was easy to figure out, but like how it was going to get there was like, completely unhinged. And I love that. I like when a movie is just campy and fun. And like it was like I got a little bit of Eraserhead vibes at one part, and it was just kind of like just a love letter to horror movies in general, slashers and zombie films, and because technically it is a slasher zombie film, and like it's just, oh god, because it today is, it dropped today, so I'm trying to figure out how to like go about talking about this without like giving away massive spoilers, but like, you know um but going by the trailer, you can gather, she is killing people to collect body parts to that her zombie boyfriend is missing, and to make him whole again. And how they do it is absolutely hilarious. And like, I don't know, it's like it just was giving me kind of like Frankenhooker vibes a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
because she was kind of like picking people's body parts out. And I was just like, this is just fantastic. It it doesn't get overly gory, but someone's dick does get cut off, and for the reason you think it would be. And it's amazing. I was just like, this is hilarious. It may After looking at it for it, I finally figured out what movie it reminded me of, and that was I think it's like called My Boyfriend's Back,
Mm-hmm.
where the guy comes back and takes his girlfriend to prom, and it's I don't know, it was a very good movie. I really enjoyed it. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's a PG-13 film. Uh, there's a lot of sex and drugs and alcohol usage, and like, and Lisa Frankenstein, uh, her real name is like Lisa Swallows. So exactly, it's like, okay, this is just so many like innuendos and jokes on top of jokes, and it was nice to see an actual like horror comedy that wasn't like trying to like be over the top comedic, but at the same time, like, I don't know, it's more slapstick than anything, and just like situational humor a lot of the time. And it paid off really well. I thought they did a really good job with the humor. They knew when to like tone it back some, and like the music is works with every scene. And I'm going to tell you, the cinematography in this movie goes hard. Like, those are some of the most beautiful sceneries I've seen in a horror movie in a little while. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a combination of all of this weird and random shit that just happens. And you're like, I went to go see it with my wife because this was our Valentine's Day date, and we were just cracking up. We were just looking at each other and just like, oh my god, like just laughing throughout the entire movie. Um, and I really liked, there was a couple of scenes that they actually just didn't play music, and they just let the dialogue work for the movie. And it was really interesting to see, like, like all of these like major shifts in scene to scene, and how they, like they use the music to emphasize a scene, and then, cut it off to emphasize the jokes and like what's really going on to. And I don't know, I was like, this was a full on experience for me, and I haven't been this enthralled by a movie in a while. I don't think it's like the most amazing movie in the world, but like it was refreshing to see after, like, you know because like I said, I earlier, before we started, I was worried it was going to be like a totally killer, because it does take place in 1989, and it felt like the 80s. It didn't feel like they were trying too hard with like what people associated the 80s to be. And like you, in her room, you saw like posters of the Bajas and all this stuff, and I was just like, this is like what I wanted. A nice little gothy movie that gives you a new a horror girly for like these teen girls who are getting into horror movies to look up to, and because this girl is like, she's not overly gothy, but it's whatever. Sorry, a little tiny bit of nuances, but this is what happens when we get our shackles taken off. We just ramble. Um, but yeah, anyway, long story short, I I really suggest watching this film, to form your own opinions. This touched everything that I personally like in a movie. And uh I would have to say, like, it's going to be hard to top this movie for me. And have you seen the trailer for the ballerina vampire movie that's coming out?
I don't think I have. I think that might be a new one.
It just sideswiped me today. Sorry, it happened when, because, watching it, there's the first Omen movie coming out.
Oh god, no one cares.
I was like, I thought it was going to be Rosemary's Baby. The way they were talking about it, like, and all the religious, like, happening in the church and all this, I was like, I'm hoping that this is like a major religious horror movie. And then it went to a vampire ballerina. And it's a little girl. And these people are locked in a house with, think of Megan. Like the dancing sequences.
I'd rather not.
I didn't watch Megan. I just know the trailer. And she's like dancing and killing people. That's what this is. It's just this little girl who's a vampire killing people. That, like, this guy was like, I bet like this organization like kidnapped this like rich little girl, and she was like talking to this girl, and she's like, I'm sorry about what's going to happen to you. And then, like, you see her in handcuffs, and she's just taking them off and standing up and like growing, and her like teeth grow, and she just starts ripping people apart. And I'm just like, this is going to be absolute ass. Like, I stayed away from Megan because of all the like negative reviews, and I'm just like, okay, this one might actually be interesting, but they gave away the entire movie in this, and I think that's stupid. I wish they didn't do that. But yeah, you're gonna have to look it up.
I will do that because you said the kidnapping a child and something. It kind of reminded me of like Whisper, where like the bunch of people. And there's like so many things where like people kidnap somebody and it turns out bad for them. There's like the house on Willow Street. I think that was it, where like the a bunch of people kidnapped this lady and she's possessed. And then there's like Seizure. That's another low budget one that's like they kidnapped her and she's possessed. There's so many of those. So now we got wasn't that a segment in Tales from Halloween too, where like they kidnap the boy and like he's a devil? I think that was another scene. So just like all this stuff reminded me of that. And there's like Blood Trap, where people go into the house to steal stuff and like that they get attacked by a vampire lady. So like, again, it's nothing new, but I'll look it out. And then it kind of reminded me of Livid, as well. The people that did the film after they did Martyrs, they went and did Livid, which also has a ballerina in it. You have to watch Livid. I don't know where it's at. I think it might be on Tubi, but I have no idea anymore. But going back to Lisa Frankenstein, when I saw the trailer, I kind of like, yeah, this is something Ian would like. The trailer, I mean, it looked good. It looked fine for the anesthetic that they were going for, making it 80s and everything. And again, the whole thing is like, I didn't like Warm Bodies. All right, that when I watched that in theaters, I was like miserable the entire time, and it's just not one I even as again, as a zombie fan, you watch it, and I hated it. I didn't have fun with it. And then like years later, I watched the Asylum knockoff film, the co-ed and the zombie stoner, and that's much more enjoyable and much more they know what they're going for. They're trying to make this sort of like Fred Olin Ray, a Jim Wynorski type skin flick with like gore. Even though it's not, it's like in the vein of that, and it's just like so much fun. Co-ed and the zombie stoner. So if you didn't like Warm Bodies, I do suggest that. But like Lisa Frankenstein, it looks okay. Again, the anesthetic and stuff. But I do reserve reservations until I watch it.
Well,
I'm just gonna say it might not be for me, because a lot of that stuff, iffy here and there. Like another one was like Spring, which was by the guys that did. I think it was the guys that did like Resolution and Endless and stuff. It might have been like one of their offshoot films where a guy goes to Prague or somewhere in the foreign country and falls in love with a creature. during a spring, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of stuff like that where like someone falls in love with something. I mean, it kind of I do like My Boyfriend's Back. I Was a Teenage Zombie. I like that one.
See, and that's the
There's
kind of vibe that they were going for. And I just looked up the director. It's Zelda Williams. It's Robin Williams' daughter.
mm,
And I didn't know she did movies, but like, and it explains why she chose the year because that's the year she was born and the year I was born too. Because it takes place in 1989. But I don't know, like, it really did, like, I didn't get warm bodies from this. The trailer, you know, actually gives away a lot of the plot of the movie, but it doesn't give away like the random ass scenes that just randomly like it just pops up.
yeah, yeah,
And it's like these silhouettes, like, I mean, like when he cuts the dick off, and this is the selling point. Like, and I know like it's a big thing, but whatever. Um, you see it, the shadow of the dick just flopping around in the air, and it lands in a basket, and he just picks it up and just like proudly walks out with it. And it's just like, because it's just like, oh my god, this is unhinged.
yeah. More zany than
Yeah, it's like it's just over the top funny, but not like they like I said, it relies more on like situational humor and a little bit of, slapstick and but it's not like mean-spirited jokes all the time. It's just people are being stupid and and it's like in the moment kind of thing. Like they didn't try to like force the joke and then try to explain why it's funny, like a lot of
mhm,
these horror comedies tend to do. Like, um, Destroy All Neighbors. I felt like that is a very good example. While yeah, it wasn't the best movie, but it is a good example because they did do a lot of humor, and then they had to go back and explain why. I felt like if they had to explain why it was funny, and it's like I felt like the jokes just fell flat. And if I'm going to compare it to that, like I felt like the jokes in this movie was more genuine.
mhm,
And I actually I was just laughing. Like, I don't know, it's a weird movie. It's exactly all I can say is it's exactly what I was hoping to get, but I was expecting like to come out of it like you did with Warm Bodies or like the Heathers remake. Like I was worried it's just going to be like super preachy, like a lot of these movies have been lately. Um, and it wasn't. It was just this girl wanting to do whatever she wanted to do and getting her confidence. And but
yeah.
I do have
Honestly,
yeah.
I kind of wish they went for the R, but I know they're trying to get that extra cash in on the holiday with
It
it being PG-13. I mean, I guess they're really pushing the line, but like you said, it like kind of reminded you of Frankenhooker. I kind of would love to see that, and it's maybe there's an unrated cut eventually down the road, but they just had to cut things here to get the PG-13
well,
because
yeah.
again, I'd love to see something like that where they just like zany antics, like exploding prostitutes. That's you can't beat that.
Yeah, I mean but it was what was odd about it was that a lot of stuff doesn't happen within the first like 45 minutes of the movie. Like, but it didn't. I my mom was messaging me about my son because I was having stomach problems and he was crying a lot, and I just my phone was blowing up, and I looked at it to see what was going on to make sure no emergency, and like the movie started at 8 or about 9 o'clock. It was 10 o'clock in the movie when people started dying, and I did not even realize it had been that long. I thought it had only been maybe 20 minutes. Like, that's, because it did the whole setup in the beginning, and then the last, like, 40 minutes was just the plot of the movie. And they did it in a way that, like, was intriguing. Like I said, there was, like, a lot of jokes. There was a lot of, like, setting up, like, why and who and all this, who this girl is, what happened. And, but like I said, it was weird that it had started, because normally a lot of these movies drag so much in the first half of the movie that you're like, you feel every single second of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel like, I mean, there probably was, if I, sit back and actually like have time to process the movie a little bit more, I could probably pick out the scenes that could be removed. But like watching it, I didn't feel like personally anything really dragged on that much. But I also had my wife that was, cracking up next to me. And so her and I were like looking at each other, giggling. So, you know, so maybe our us giggling helped me process, like ignore the dragging on parts. But like I said, I need to process it a little bit more because like I need a second viewing to make sure that like, to pick out the problems with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a fine movie. I definitely say check it out. It's got vibes, but they don't cross the line. They get kind of close to crossing a line every once in a while, but then they like some deaths happen off scene, some things but not a lot of gore, not a lot of like a lot of sexual innuendos, but like nothing really happens. And I think that's an interesting thing that like not a lot happens, and it does remind me of those 80s, uh like early 90s, mid 90s to almost late 90s, like My Boyfriend's Back, and all of the other teenage flicks. Like they really did pay a homage to that because those were like made for TV movies,
Mm-hmm.
and so they never cross a line. And but it gets to a point where I thought they would cross the line, but I don't know. It's an odd movie. It's just right up my alley, and I'm gonna harp it up. So,
Well, with
yeah,
that said, let's go ahead and cut that off because again, I think you pretty much covered what you needed to cover, and I can't do much else without seeing the film. So we'll reserve my reservations for later if I see it, and we'll move on to our main attraction of the Boneyard. Um, and as preface, for those listening who have not heard about the Boneyard, is a portion of the show where we review films that are pretty much obscure, impossible, hard to find. You'll never know anything about them. Pretty much, I don't even know how many copies out there exist of one. Basically the bottom of the bottom almost. But we've had some ups and downs over doing the shows, and this one recently, um, I've watched this on eBay, and again, the wonders of eBay. But I've watched this one for about a year, honestly, and the price was a little up there, and I wasn't gonna do that at all because it's like I don't even know anything about it. The trailer isn't even doesn't really well, it gives you an idea for what's to come, but it's not the trailer has it no point in the movie whatsoever that scene comes into the film. Um, but here recently, the seller dropped it to a reasonable and affordable price, and that's when I snagged it up because, you know, Ian, who else is going to talk about this? No one. And that, and I think there's like a joke in the film, and I think we're the only people that's going to know the jokes from now on. And I feel that the film, there's an audience. It's like One Last Stop in a Violent Town. There's an audience for that if it found its rightful place. And this one, there's a crowd for this if it wasn't so obscure and like, it's a self-released film. But we're talking about, as the title suggests, the Horror Hotline, released in 2012, directed by Jason Welch, who also stars in. He's the lead character of Jason. I think it's Jason. Josh, my bad, Josh. Both of them star and wrote it. So Josh, oh God, I don't even know. Josh has visions of ending himself, basically, in various ways. Daydreaming, ways to end himself. Try not to say the S word because I think it's different policy on YouTube than it is on BTR.
Unalive.
Yeah. So yeah, unalive himself, and he also has visions of unaliving his roommate. I think that's Jason, and Jason finds this post, not post, but a piece of paper posted on a tree, duct taped there, and like, hey, I found this number. You need an extra job. Call the number. Maybe you can get some money and help pay for stuff. So Josh does that, and he goes over and he meets. All right, just from this point on, it's going to get weird. And so he goes over to this guy's house, and this guy has $25,000, and he wants Josh to kill someone with a gun. And this guy, he's a little eccentric, he's a little zany. This whole film's zany, but he talks about wanting Josh to play dress up and to show him what to do when he kills someone. And then like he wears this like purge mask and a wig and a dress, and then he starts the guy in the house starts filling up Josh and rubbing him, and he's wearing an eye patch and he has a sword. And then it cuts to Josh talking to this therapist, saying, and that's when I left the house. And then as the film progresses, he sees an ad on the TV for the Horror Hotline where he has three choices, and he decides to go for the third choice, which is the deluxe package. And that is where everyone unalives by a serial killer and then unalives you. So he's like, yeah, sure, I'm going to do that. And then that sets up the second half of the movie where the serial killer comes into play. Ian, this movie was a wild trip. There's just, as I mentioned earlier, there's a joke here, and we're in on it now. For some reason, this film just like is just so out there, and like you're looking into someone's weird like high school memories or something, like films that like someone made in high school, and they decided, you know what, let's put this out to the public and show how zany and weird, or we can make a movie. And the thing is like it's hard to describe because everything has to deal with dicks, and masturbation, and it's just it's constant blowjobs. Everything comes into play, and it's just like when you're like really close to your friends, and all you punch them in the dick, or like act like you're grabbing their ass and stuff like that. It's just like it's like that film for an hour, where it's just like a bunch of people acting stupid together, making a 51-minute film, involving blowjobs for a quarter, and like the guy giving you a quarter is not he wants to receive one, not give one. Um, and then there's like a masked luchador in underwear rubbing his nipples through the window because he's like after Josh for some reason. He's just stalking him, just like. And then the serial killer comes into play, and then that involves like knives being dicks and like all kinds of weird stuff. Um, there's a sex scene where again Knives is a dick and he penetrates the guy. Um, there's a lot of like repeated shots of a guy getting his ass slapped or someone slapping an ass. Um, geez, Ian, this film
Yeah.
was wild, and it's like it's hard to describe because you kind of want to like show clips, but you can't really because you want to show this one to people. This is one of those where like if it was me and you and like other people, I think we'd be having a riot. I mean, I was sitting here like kind of bewildered, like as the film progressed because it's just like random stuff. Like here's one example.
Who the hell are you?
No job for a quarter?
No way, man. I'm not gay. Aren't you coming anywhere near this dick?
No. You just need a little job for a quarter.
Like that. That's what I'm talking about. The 25 cents comes into play,
Yeah.
and
Like that was just so weird and out of nowhere.
and then you have the guy that Josh goes to see, and like he has bananas and a can of biscuits in a frying pan, and he's just like holding them, rubbing them against the stove, just like looking over, like grimacely over at Josh sitting at the table, before he brings the money out and what to do and stuff like that, and it's just like random stuff, and then it's wild that there's like this is out there. Well, sort of. It's not really. It's the reason it's on the Boneyard because again, I don't know how many copies of this thing exist, but I had to again. And it's with most Boneyards, we don't go into these reviewing them. Anything that we go in blind, and as I said, we've had our ups and downs, but I think just for like the sheer again the weirdness of this is just so it's just going for the obscene nature of everything, just like there's a scene when the serial killer not the serial killer but there's a dream and Josh is peeing at the toilet and the friend comes up over him and is like, what's wrong with your dick? And then it cuts down and then it's a nose in a zipper where your dick's supposed to be. It's just like it just stays there. It just lingers on that shot and it's breathing heavy. And like, what world are we in? This exists. It's just like someone's sick, weird world, and just like we're a part of it for this 51 minutes. It's just like obscene nature, and it's so out there. And like Ian, I know like it's hard to describe. I mean, seriously, like you said, it's chaotic in the way it's presented. But what's your thoughts on this, man? Because you went into this, knowing nothing, and like we're both probably out of wondering what the hell.
Honestly, like there was just so much getting thrown at me that like I actually think it got a little overwhelming at some parts just because of all just the sheer randomness. Like I remember the luchador mask more than I remember names just because like that's what stuck out from the movie. The ending was a little weird. I liked the ending of it though. Like, there's some parts that was just like, okay, this is, it's not bad, but then it gets into the chaos and then it's just like, what, what is going on? Oh God. Like that scene, like I honestly, that one friend with the deserved what he got because he was getting on my nerves. He's a douche. And
Oh, we're doing everything because it's your birthday. I just hired all them guys.
to
Like,
fuck with you,
yeah.
it's like
Like again, like you said, it's just the randomness. Like the as I played it earlier, the guy that wanted the blowjob for 25 cents, and then later on he's in the woods and he's jacking off, and then he smells his hand and then he puts it back in there, and he's somewhere he's wearing a glove, not like he's wearing like a surgical glove, just like a plastic glove over his hand so he wouldn't actually touch his crotch, you know, and then
Yeah.
it's just the randomness, man. It's just like I said, it's just like we're looking in on someone's joke, and like we kind of get their humor, It's just like, it's that friends, like, dude, you are one messed up individual, Like again, I don't think they are, but they wrote a weird movie. Just like everyone played it so seriously too, and just like it kind of actually kind of worked for it, where it doesn't come off as campy or anything. It just comes off as just like your head sideways and your eyes are cocked, and you're just like, what is happening? It's like it's in the best way possible to say that, because it's just like, as you said, it keeps on hitting you with these obscene things that just keep going and going, like with the serial killer especially, like when you get introduced to him, like. And then, he going around killing everyone. The first one, of course, like he slaps the guy's tied to the bed, and then he slaps his ass, and it repeats that scene over and over a few times. And then he slowly pulls the zipper down from his pants, and then like a knife comes out, and then he has his way. Then he has his way, and then he's like licking his lips and everything like that, and then the friend that not the friend, but the crazy one that was like frying bananas on the stove with the gun and the money, and like he's like sitting in the floor, like everyone's like half cocked in the film, like he's sitting in the floor like looking at the mask, the wig, and the dress that Josh wore earlier, and he's just like he's putting it in like this little dog kennel, and then he just like under his breath and says, "I'm glad I fucked your dog." Like, where did that come from? Just like these odd things, just like the randomness, like someone that has Tourette's and just like says something abruptly, just like, whoa, where'd that come from? And just like, and then he throws the kennel outside. And then that's when the serial killer comes in, and then, dude, there's just like so many scenes where we could just sit here, just like talk about these scenes, and people aren't going to believe us because, like, dude, that's just like crazy, and like he goes. And like he's like he kicks the dog kennel back outside, and then he hears something downstairs, and then he goes downstairs, and there's a toilet in the basement, and then he goes to pee, and then the serial killer comes up from behind him, and then he trips him, and then dunks his head in the toilet and drowns him, and just it's just like one scene after another. Once the guy, and the serial killer is wearing an old man mask, and he's just like going around stabbing people and killing him, getting to Josh, because again, like that's the whole point of like the third tier package is like what happens. It's just like, dude, it's just so weird.
Very weird.
But I can't say I didn't like it. I mean, I for what it was, because it's just like it's so out there, It's just like where like you want to talk about the film,
right?
With people. Just like you want to show this one off because like you want to be in that group of people. It's like, it's just like so fucking weird. And like man, Ian, honestly, we can talk about it, but it's just like it's just like so obscene out there dialogue. It's like there's a central plot that's there where like he wants to unalive himself, and then like he gets the package, he calls the hotline, and then there's a serial killer, and then starts killing people. But like everything in between is just like, where did this stuff come from? It's like, it's like when you take a crap and like you're like, where, I don't remember eating corn, just like,
yeah,
you're just wondering like, where'd that come from? And or just just off-kiltered stuff, and just like acting crazy, and you're just sitting there enduring it, and just like, then there's the random dancing just comes in out of nowhere with the luchador just rubbing himself that goes on for a minute, and then there's just like all kinds of just randomness, and just like it's just random, and it's not going to be like, it's straightforward as like this like serious horror, sort of horror, quote unquote, but then it just like has all this like stuff you'd find in like a spoof movie where it's just like it's trying to all this stuff to be dumb, and it's just like, well, we can do this as straight laced as possible but still be over the top with our humor, and I think they did balanced it out pretty well, but it's still fucking out there.
Yeah, no, it definitely is an experience. It is it's an experience to say the least.
Yeah, it's like we have 8 Ball where like it's so bad, like this is like this is like the good end of the spectrum, like we have the worst end where everything doesn't work, but they have this one where it's like it's a whole different experience where just like you're just like that one's like everything goes wrong, like you're just watching it, Leprechaun's Curse, you're just watching everything go wrong, and you're just like, what is happening? And this one is just like so out there and so over the top and so straightforward, and like the humor is just all over the place, and you're just like, you're also like, what is happening, but it's like in the best way possible, just like this is one you want to show the people, and like whereas like it's short too, it's like 51 minutes, and like you can get through it, boom, you're done, and it's just like so out there where it's just like a brisk speed, whereas like 8 Ball and Leprechaun's Curse, you're just like, oh my god, kill me, like.
Yeah, no, I definitely say, even though it's a very absurd film, I don't think it has dethroned Fisted.
No, like, see, that's another one. That's one I was thinking of, where it's like, even though Fisted, is more, they're making an outlandish movie, like they're in on it. They're making it as most, as crazy as it can get on purpose. This one is like, it's on purpose, but it's like not played on purpose as is Fisted. Like they're trying to do this as straight laced as possible, just with a obscene attitude towards everything.
Yeah, it's it's just, I was thinking about that when I was watching. I was like, this movie is crazy, but like it's like I'm waiting for a movie to dethrone Fisted, and I don't think that's going to happen. Like I'm starting to think that because like we watch a lot of movies, and I've yet to see something that tops that. There might be something you've seen, but like personally, I haven't seen it. But yeah, no, like I think the movie did what it set out to do. I think they had a lot of time they wanted to kill, and they probably were just like, hey, let's just, we got time today, let's film something zany and off script. And I think it does feel like a lot of this movie was ad-libbed. I mean, like we can talk, this is one of those that you have to overlook, because it is a guy making a film in his house with like whatever camera he could find at the time.
Well, it's definitely shot sort of like shot on camera. It's shot on video. It looks like shot on video on camcorder style. It's not pristine. This is something like Saturn's Core would put out now, or VHS. One of those.
It's not gonna win any cinematography awards.
No.
But so you gotta, when you're going into a movie like this, you definitely need to make sure that your expectations are a little low, and that you're not going to like be focused too much on the small details like the acting and the sets and the props and everything like that. And I think and that's why I'm glad that we do this show, is because of movies like this that a lot of people won't give the time of day, because it's not like, you know, I'm just going to use Lisa Frankenstein as I think the cinematography in that was like very crisp, beautiful. It like they, like every scene had different colors. They used that. This is a little guy in his house filming a little movie, and he still does a pretty decent job of like making it, easy to follow. You understand what's going, like, outside of the insane shit that happens in between the movie. The central plot is easy to follow.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about that because, I watched that movie last night, and then I watched this today, and I'm just like, I appreciate what we do because, like you said, who's going to watch this?
Yeah. And again, like,
Like,
how many copies of it actually exist? It's just like happenstance, finally, because again, like I said, I've been watching it for a while and it finally went to a reasonable price. But just like, again, these regional low budget oddities, like they're few and far between, well, not far in between, but like, you never know how far this went out to, you don't know, just if it's around just in their general area, like it was with One Last Stop in a Violent Town, or Mascara Diablo, which I guess it was self-released by the director, but you just don't know. Like Woodstock Holiday, where'd that come from? It's just like all these films, and especially like this one, where it's just like, obviously it's out there, but it's few and far between. And there's like, again, no info besides that trailer. It doesn't really do much. And I don't think it has an IMDb page. And I created the letterbox page again. So it's just like, that's the whole reason why we do the Boneyards. And one of the reasons I just love doing them, because like, you never know. It's an experience each time. Sometimes you have the bads and sometimes you have the goods. And sometimes you get something just fucking crazy, like Horror Hotline. And yeah, I didn't, I mean, the trailer gave a little bit to like, okay, what's this about? It's gonna be a little weird, but I didn't expect that. So it throws you on your toes.
yeah.
And like I said, like, if this was with a group of people, like if it was me and you, maybe your wife, like this would be a fucking hoot, like we'd be fucking like hysterics, just like laughing at the insanity and the stupidness that's happening on screen, and just like going, what the hell, and whereas like like it's not delivery, it's demonic. We were having fun talking back and forth, and just like we were in the movie. It's like friends do. It's a hangout movie. And this one is just like one of those where you're like, oh, have I got something to show you? And then you set your friends down, and then like they're just like in awe of like, what is this? It's like it's just this weird little oddity that just lost. Technically, it's lost to time, and like there's no other reviews out there at the time of this recording. And again, you never know. Like, again, we did One Last Stop in a Violent Town, and the person that played the monster in the film reached out to us, talked about the film, and that was cool as hell. That's how we do these. You put this out there, hope it reaches people, and you never know what you get back. And it's kind of cool in that sense. And at least we're getting it out there. Again, it's obscure, it's unknown, and that's the reason it's on the Boneyard.
Yeah, and I'm like, like these some of these movies we've watched has made me question, should anyone just be allowed to make a movie? But we get little gems that make it worthwhile. And while I like to joke that like these movies make me question why I'm still alive, uh we get something that's like really worthwhile and a lot of heart. And you don't need a massive budget to make something decent. You just need, time and effort and friends. And if not, then, like look at that movie Low. Like I don't see anybody talk about that movie. And it just takes place in a room, in a dark room. So
Yeah, but
oh, I did forget.
again, I think it's just something. Again, like we've been doing this for a while, and just like these random reviews, and it's always interesting to find something so crazy, and especially again now that we have the poster up. Well, it's not the poster; it's the DVD cover. You can see it's as handmade as it can get.
And yeah, that's I when you sent me that, I was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's the movie." I just I didn't see the title at the end. I just thought you sent me a random picture, and I was like, "Okay," because I've never seen a hand drawn movie DVD case like that before.
Yeah.
So that's unique. We own history,
Yeah.
obscure history.
It's also autographed by both of them inside. There's like a little card
Oh,
when you open it up, and it's autographed.
That's good.
Yeah. So again, I don't know how many copies of this exist from 2012. Again, these are the films that, like, I mean, they're impossible. That's the reason we do the shows. I don't know how many times I have to repeat myself, but it's like, this is the stuff I love finding. Just these weird oddities, and everyone's always talking about, like, the state of physical media and like all the 4K talk, and like, again, I understand that. I understand people wanting to preserve stuff, but like this is the stuff we need to preserve. Because like no one's talking about this stuff, obviously, because it's like how many people know about this, but like no one else is like talking about these obscure films. And again, some are good, some are bad, some are shit. But like it's still worth talking and bringing it up because like there's like a history, and like you don't want to lose this. I mean, obviously, every average Joe can go out there and make a movie now, but like these are like these films that's just like there's a lot of heart and dedication, especially like One Last Stop, where it's like all that hard work and it's just lost the time. And like this one is just like it has an audience if it just finds it, because I think people would like get in on the joke and like the zaniness of it. Like I can see that, and like I'm kind of in that crowd, whereas like I like stupid shit when it's done stupid, and this one's just like I was wondering there, like, is this ever going to turn into a horror film? Like he has scenes where he's like doing this and that to himself, but like then the serial killer aspect comes into play, and then it gets fun, and in various ways, because it's just stupid itself. It's like it gets even worse in the best way possible,
Right.
because it's just like they're just doing the most obscene shit, and it's just like, yeah, that's fun. But yeah, I'm glad to have this. I'm glad to share it. Have somebody to share it with, even though it's, again, we're one of the few in, and but it's a badge to wear. I don't know if it's a good badge, but it's a badge, because again, we do this, and we're on one of the few that have seen it, and like have this platform to throw it out there into the ether and see who it reaches, and those, like, again, it's a memory to those who made it or involved in it, and there's like no mention of it whatsoever, so it's just like kind of orphaned in a sense, and here we are finally discovering it and putting it out there, giving its due.
Yeah. I think a lot more of these little movies, definitely deserve to have their time to shine. And even if it's just us that's, doing the polishing, I'm glad that I have the ability to do that. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm glad we get movies sent to us every once in a while. And like, and I know we got a couple of people asking us to review their stuff. And I think that's absolutely insane to me that I've just, when I first started, I wasn't thinking of getting movies and doing that. Like that never once crossed my mind. But the first couple of times I came home and there was just DVDs on my front steps, I was just like, oh, so this is like, I was like, this is a thing now. That's when I felt like we actually, when we got our first like teasers and stuff like that, when we like watched The Killer Rack. That was great.
Yep. But yeah, I don't know where else to go with the horror hotline. I think we pretty much did as much as we could. I will say this, that as I do with a lot of things, but now that we have a bigger platform, for those interested, just reach out to the Facebook page, send a message, and if you're interested, I will allow those to check it out. As I did, that's the only way I could give it to Ian to watch.
Yeah.
So for those interested, I mean, there's nothing else out there. I don't know what happened. It's from the two guys that made it, Jason and Josh, but for the time being, unless they put the whole film up there on their YouTube page, I do have it available for those interested. Just reach out either on the Facebook page or on the Instagram page, either or. I'll get back to you. And I guess it's a good time to go into like everything else. For those that's like new listening, we do have an Instagram page. Everything is basically, we have a link tree, so you can just go to our Facebook page, Horror Night Oasis, and there's a link tree that has the Instagram where I show off various things, movie related, more obscure stuff that like doesn't hit the Boneyard reviews, that are a lot of stuff that harder to find stuff. Letterbox page where I review a lot of stuff that doesn't make the show, or you can keep up the track of my watches or whatever you want to do on Letterbox. And again, that's about it. Facebook, Instagram, Letterbox. We do have T-shirts now, as you've seen the logo earlier on screen. Again, it's a start, but if you do want to support and help the show, make us go further, I mean, you're more than welcome to. No, not asking. We're just saying it'd be nice. And every little bit of support, helps make us find another random film for the Boneyard. And it just helps out further the show, make the show better. Again, if you buy a shirt, they'll get us a microphone. So not forcing anyone, but the suggestion is it would be appreciated here and there. So yeah, I mean, I think that's gonna do it, because I don't think there's that much left. And Ian, I tell you, it has been fun. And
oh yeah, and it's
like I
been
said,
nice that
it's nice to just like actually go into stuff and discuss it. Even though I don't think this was like the best one for that, but it's still, I think that we covered a lot of ground as much as we could with the film, given its nature. And
yeah. Well, I mean, we got over 63 minutes and we're not kicked off, which is nice, because like before I was like obsessively checking the time, like, has it been like, are we getting close to our time?
Yeah. And again, we're still working the kinks out on the live stuff. As you notice, there's no intro music, and there's probably going to be no outro music. So we just got to get those files uploaded so we can play them. Again, it's just like small little steps, but once we get those steps, we'll be able to run, and it'll be smooth sailing from here on out. We might get a new intro, who knows? But I think it's a good step forward, and I'm looking forward, as I mentioned, earlier in the show, I'm looking forward to what the rest of the year holds out for us. And again,
Yeah.
longer shows, more reviews. We can actually do, as we did like tonight, 2 films, or we can do 3. We can get back to our interviews because we've been kind of slacking. So, and we also have, extra guest hosts if we want to. And I have one in mind for a potential future show. So I'm going to have to reach out to him. And there's, again, a lot of stuff to look forward to, and ring the year in, even though it is February, but still ring the year in and make it one of the better years for the show. Because again, last year was rough with everything, and I'm looking forward to this year and what it has to offer. And again, I have another show idea that we could do next week, but again, we can go live anytime now, with no restraints.
And the fact that, like, we can actually do more than one movie if we are able to do that, or and we can get back into horror news.
Yeah, it's been a while.
That's why I wanted to bring up the trailers, because I was just like, oh, we have time. I can say during this movie I saw 2 trailers, and one of them looked absolutely ridiculous. I just sent you the link to it because I would like to hear your thoughts on it. But yeah, I'm glad that we got this. I can't wait to see what this year brings. And hell, my wife and I were talking about going to Scarefest, and maybe if it's, either both of us is able to, maybe we can go live in person.
Yeah. There's the possibilities are endless. So I think it's gonna, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully those listening who've listened to us or stuck with us, again, I did all this, uploading the old shows and the newer shows, and it's helped greatly because we got to where we are now, where we can go live. And I'm thankful for those that listen to the show, so we were able to do this. And get how many hours or how many subscribers we needed to reach this capacity of live streaming. So I do appreciate those listening that have listened to our shows. If it's just one or multiple, it's appreciative, because with those listens and subscribing, it's really helped. So if you're new, subscribe, whatever, like, do all that stuff. Find us on Facebook at horrornightoasis, Instagram. And Ian, I think that's going to do it. So
right.
I will talk to you next time, my brother. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next time on Horror Night Oasis.
Good night, everyone.